Hey, my name is Eric from ReliableResellers.net. Thanks for coming back to another video. Today is Friday, June 25th. Hope you had a good week. Mine's been pretty good. I just left the post office. We dropped off last night's sales. We did just below like 700 bucks. It was 675 and some change. So a really good sales day for us. It's been a pretty good sales week all in all. We've had a pretty good week this week. So no complaints at all. What I am doing currently is currently we're driving to South Tampa. We're gonna go back to John's house. He's got the Xbox all cleared off. So we're gonna go pay him for the Xbox and grab that. We're gonna bring, I got one of the DVRs that I bought from him. It has a password on it. So I'm hoping he can, I'm hoping he will remember the password and he can clear that off for me. Otherwise, I'm gonna have to figure out how to factory reset without the password. Anyway, so that's pretty much all I have going on today. No other appointments really. I'm just gonna drive down here. I'm gonna pick up this Xbox One, some games, a couple controllers, the damn usual stuff, and then kind of go back home. I am beginning to plan for hiring my first employee, and there's a lot of work involved. So I have a million things going through my brain right now about how to properly run a business, not necessarily just a resale business, but how to run a business in general. And there's a lot more work involved than it looks like on the outside. There's a lot more work involved than you anticipate, at least when you're someone like myself going into this, coming from just being a full-time employee somewhere. You don't appreciate what all has to be involved, or what all is involved in running a company and running a business. There's just, with the operational duties that have to be done, the administrative tasks, all the customer service stuff, the financial stuff that has to be taken care of, all of the inventory tracking, just everything. There's a lot that has to be done, and they aren't the kind of things that you think about when you're another cog in the wheel and you're going to a job somewhere and you clock in, or you're a salaried employee and you show up at 8 or whatever it is for your daily shift, and you do the work that you're assigned to do, and you go home. You get a paycheck for doing it, you get a salary for doing it, you get benefits for doing it, and that's great. Well, that's what I've done my entire life, and frankly, I just haven't really appreciated at all what all is really involved in making the business churn and making everything go. So I'm looking to bring on my first employee, potentially, to help with operational duties, to help with listing, to help with packing and shipping. I want to try to get more to the point where I'm running the business, not working the business, if that makes any sense. I want to try to get to a point where I am laying out the strategy that I want the business to achieve, while other people are taking the steps necessary to achieve that strategy. But in order to get there, you have to create the foundation. You have to create all of the operational documents. You have to create the systems. You have to create the structure. You have to create the process that other people are going to follow when they come on board. If I go today and I throw an ad up on Craigslist or something like that, and I have somebody come in here and start helping out with the business, which is possible to do, but I don't have training documents to give this person. I don't have an operations manual. I don't have anything that I can say, okay, person, I've hired you to do the job of helping me with operational duties here with Reliable Resellers. That includes packing and shipping and listing, answering customer inquiries, and so on. Well, okay, so the way I deal with customers, the way I respond to customers is very specific. I always start my emails the same way. I always end my emails the same way. The tone of my emails are the same. Whether the person was nice, whether the person was rude and obnoxious, I respond in a happy tone. I respond professionally. I use proper English. I make sure all my words are spelled correctly. Punctuation is correct. I want the company to look like a professional company. So when you bring someone on, you've got to be careful to make sure that they're going to execute things the way you want them to execute things. And the only way that's going to happen, at least number one, is if you lay out and you tell them, this is how things are going to be done here in the company. This is how I want customer response, how I want response to customer inquiries to be handled. This is how I want the pictures to be taken for the new listings. This is how I want the titles to be written. Just everything. This is how I want my packages to be shipped. This is the time of day I want it done. But you have to lay out that system. You have to define that system. Every job you go to, every job I've ever worked at, right, there are systems and processes in place. Well, someone has defined those systems. Someone has defined those processes. Someone has typed out the documents and put the screenshots and wrote the documentation. Well, when you're a one-person company, right, and you are driving around all day getting new inventory, and you're having to then research that inventory and list it up online and deal with all the customer questions and pack and ship all the orders and take everything to the post office. I mean, there's only so many hours in the day. And so I'm already putting in 15, 16-hour days on all this stuff. I really just feel like there's just not enough time in the day to get all this stuff done. Not to mention, I don't know what all I'm supposed to be doing. I'm winging it. I am just figuring this stuff out as I go. I read a really good book called The E-Myth by Malcom Gladwell, and it's really changed how I'm looking at running my company and running the business. It's kind of where I got the word, I want to work on the business, not in the business. It's from Malcom Gladwell's book, and man, it makes so much sense. When you come from a background of working in the business, you think that is the business. You produce a product, you produce a service, and that service is the business. That's what you're selling. That's what the customer is buying, or the service on top of the product the customer bought. You're providing the support for the product or whatever. Well, that's not the whole business. You had to find the person to buy it. You had to market that service. You had to advertise. You had to then sell it. You had to process that sale. There's so much more. Just from an administration perspective, what all is involved in filing the paperwork away? What do you do with the receipts? There's so much. And frankly, it's a little overwhelming. Especially, I don't have a business background. I went to college. I went to Florida State. I have a degree in IT, computer science, essentially. I've worked my entire life at a desk behind a computer, doing systems and network administration. That's what I've done my whole life, my whole adult life anyway. And when you come from that type of a background, you're just not prepared. I wasn't. I shouldn't use a blanket term. I wasn't prepared for what all was going to be involved above and beyond just the day-to-day work. And for my specific business of buying, researching, and listing and reselling, and then packing and shipping and taking it to the post office. There's just so much more to running a business than just that, especially if you want to grow. If you're fine being relatively small, if you're fine, literally doing it all yourself, you know, then great. You know, if that works for you, I mean, that's fantastic. I could probably continue on how I'm doing by myself and be fine. I would just never be able to grow. I would never be able to get to a point where I can kind of just take it easy and earn a really nice living doing this, go and purchase some health insurance and that whole thing. So I want to get to that point where this is a real legitimate business. Not that it isn't right now, but I have a ways to go, and I'm starting now to scratch the surface. Like, I'm starting to, so I do have now a full business plan typed out. It's a little rough, but I have a full 5-page, 4.5-page business plan with full financial documents, full executive summaries, 5-year plans of where I plan to go in the short term, in the 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 year. I'm starting to create all of the job descriptions. I've created a organizational chart, and yes, I think that's kind of, I thought in the beginning it was a little bit ridiculous to create an organizational chart for a company with one person in it. But having the organizational chart down creates the structure. It gives you a visual for how everything is going to flow within the organization. Who's going to report to who and who's going to do what in your company. And yes, my name is under all the work spots right now, but that's only temporary. I'm creating all of the organizational documents, the operations manual, the sales operations manual, how my company operates. How do we process orders? How do we get things listed up on eBay? How do we respond to customer emails and phone calls? Just everything. I'm getting it all down. I'm creating how-to documents for everything that's involved with running my business. Ideally, what I would like to do is get the business to a place where I can begin to hire full-time employees. I want to get a physical location. I want to get a warehouse. I want to get a storefront. I want to get a place where people can start bringing me inventory rather than me having to go to them. And then eventually, I'd like to get the business to a place where I can sell it, potentially, or franchise it, potentially. I'm not really sure quite yet what the 10-year plan would be, but I do want to follow the franchise model. I do want to create at least the processes and procedures and the systems that will allow me to get to a place where if I do decide I want to sell or franchise the business later, that I will be selling a business and not a job. Because as Malcom Gladwell says, who wants to buy a job? So I'm just getting to a point now where, and I should have gotten here before, but I didn't. I just jumped into the business without fully understanding business. But I thought I understood business. I thought I knew what I was doing. And from the perspective of working in the business, I do know what I'm doing. From the perspective of working on the business, I'm really just figuring this stuff out as I go. And it's the kind of thing where if you didn't know it going in, then you don't know to research it. If you don't have the experience, if you've never been around someone who's owned a business, if you've never heard people, if your social circles just don't have people who are business owners, if the people you associate with are people who work for a company, which is fine, there's nothing wrong with that, then you're just not going to have the exposure to know that, oh, okay, hey, there's all this other stuff that's involved. And yeah, you might have an idea. Yeah, you might be able to say, well, yeah, obviously, you got to have a manual for when the phone rings. Well, that's, so, it's obvious, but it's not obvious. At least for me, it wasn't. It just wasn't smacking me in the face obvious like it is right now. I'm really getting to that point where I definitely understand that running this business is going to be a lot more than just buying something for $5 and selling it for 25. There's a ton more to this, especially if I want to grow. If I want to stay the size I am right now, hey, I can just keep chugging along. I can pay my bills. Everything will be okay. I can be my own boss. I can come and go as I please, wear the clothes I want to wear, work the hours I want to work, take the days off I want to take off, answer to myself, and just do that. But I want to grow. I want to get bigger. I want to create a company that can not only support myself, but support other people as well. I want to have an influence in the community. And I feel like I'm building there. And I'm getting to the point now where I want to hire that first employee, and it's just the realization that there's so much more to this than just buying and selling. And that's not just for my business, it's for any business, any company that's out there, any of these businesses that you drive by when you're driving down the road, they all have a system in place. They all have processes in place. I mean, think about it. When you get hired somewhere and you show up on day number 1, well, if the manager walks over to you and says, oh, okay, well, we don't really know, we don't have anything to give you, there's no training manuals, there's no, here, sit down with HR and let's talk about, this is what we expect from you, or, you just kind of walk into a company and they're just like, oh, okay, here, go take some pictures, or go, do this. Maybe there's some companies out there that operate that way and they're able to function, but every job I've ever had, just thinking back over even when I was a teenager and I was working in a fast food place, there were systems, there were processes in place. You didn't just show up and, hey, go make some hamburgers. It just wasn't like that. And then, okay, but let's say it was. Okay, well, how do I make the hamburgers? How long do I cook them for? How do I flavor them? What do I put on top, right? There's all this stuff that until it's time to think about it, I just didn't think about it. And now's the time to start thinking about it. And there's so much to do. There's just legitimately so much to do. So, sorry, the car in front of me just kind of died there. No big deal. So, there legitimately is just, so I'm repeating myself here because in my head, I've got so many things running around. So I'm also creating, so we're almost to the end of quarter 2. So we're almost to the end of June, we're almost to the beginning of July, and I'm getting ready to create my quarter 2 financial documents. The profits and losses and all of that for the company for quarter 2 of 2021. It will be the first time I will ever have created a full financial prospectus of the company, of where Reliable Reseller stands right now today. I started doing that last night, and it's tricky. There's just so much stuff that has to go in there, and if you're not trained to do this, if you're not trained to do this and you don't know what to put in a financial document, just the amount of research that you're going to have to do to understand how to properly create a financial document, just in and of itself is a lot of work. And my brain doesn't work that way. I'm not a financial guy. Right, I'm not an accountant. I'm not a CPA or anything like. I'm not trained in that. I didn't go to school for that. I had no interest at all in pursuing an accounting degree or anything like that, or becoming a bookkeeper. I have no experience. I've never done it before. I didn't go to school for it. Quite frankly, I have no real interest in it. It's not exciting. It's not fun. And it's quite headache-inducing, honestly. It really is. For someone like myself who just has no interest in it. But I can't just say, somebody else will do that. Because who? Who else is going to do it? If I don't do it, if I don't create the financial documents, who's going to do it, right? If I don't write this documentation, who's going to do it? If I don't create the operations manual, it's just not going to get done. And so all of this work on top of going and meeting people and buying merchandise and making sure you're making the right moves and you're buying the right stuff and you're creating the relationships in the neighborhood and you're having that smile on your face when you're going and seeing people, even though they might be rude to you, because you want to project that professional look. You want everyone to know that, hey, your company, Reliable Resellers, you're a professional company in the community. You're here to support the community. If people need to buy and sell the stuff that they have sitting around their house, hey, come to us. We're going to treat you better than the pawn shop, right? That's what I'm building here, and I'm doing a pretty good job of it. There's just so much work involved to get there. And I'm not complaining as much as this is just the realization. Like, it really hit me late last night when it was 3:30 in the morning and I'm up still researching how to properly write a financial document for my business plan. How do I properly report quarterly financial information? How does a resale company, how does a thrift store, I'm not a thrift store, but kind of close, I guess, sort of, like, how does a consignment shop, right? How do they report their financial information? What is all on there? It's a lot. And then luckily for me, I've been keeping track. So I use a service called GoDaddy Bookkeeping, and it's linked into my bank account. It's linked into eBay. Every dollar I spend from my bank account is tracked. Every sale I make on eBay is tracked. All the taxes, everything is, it's a really good bookkeeping software. It's not total. There is some manual entry. There is some keeping up of it, but a lot of it is automated, thankfully. So that really does help. But, you know, there are things like my inventory that I'm just not properly keeping track of. I know how much I've spent for stuff, but I know for a fact I'm not properly keeping track of my inventory. I don't know how to. I don't know the right way to properly keep track of inventory. I don't know that there is necessarily one right way or one wrong way, and I'm sure there's a wrong way, but I don't know the ways to go about keeping track of keeping track of inventory. That's just yet another thing that has to be researched. That's gonna have to get done, that I'm gonna have to do. And again, I'm not complaining. I'm mostly just ranting. You know, I was up late last night. The realization really smacked me in the face that I don't know what the hell I'm doing with that stuff. I have no idea how to properly create these documents. And do all of this stuff. So I'm learning it on the fly. I'm figuring this stuff out on the fly as I go, while also trying to keep the business afloat and make sure that we're still profitable and everything is moving in the right direction. And it is. It definitely is. There's just so much that has to be done, which is why I'm looking to hire my first employee. But I work from home. I don't have a physical location. I don't have a warehouse or a storefront yet, so that's a little tricky, right? How do you hire someone to come help you run the operational side of a business when you work from your house? And like right now, right, I'm out going on a pick. Yesterday I was on 3 picks. They didn't amount to anything. That's why there was no video. But anyway, I was on 3 picks. I'm on one right now. So I'm not at my house. Well, how? So if I hired someone, they would have to be at my house while I'm not there. So that's scary, you know? So you're not home, mind you, not at your place of business with all of your inventory. It's thousands of dollars, but you're at your house where you live, where you eat, where you sleep, where all of your personal stuff is. And you have someone who you put an ad on Craigslist or something, and you hired somebody, and you know they're working for you for 12, 15 bucks an hour, doing some listings on eBay for you. And oh, hey, person, I'm gonna go run out for a couple hours and do some picking. I'll be back. So you just leave. Now they're just in your house, right? So there's a level of trust there that has to happen. That, you know. So what comes first? Getting the employee or getting the a place, a physical location. Well, there's only enough money to do one or the other, right? And I really need some help. So, you know, I don't know. Anyway, this video is mostly just a rant about all of the stuff that's involved with running a business. There's so much more than just the day-to-day work of working in the business. You have to go to work on the business as well. And man, there's just a lot to do that if you go into this not knowing how much work there is to do,
after the shell,
it'll really smack you in the face when you're not prepared for it when you start to go down that road. It really will. I mean, it's smacking me in the face right now in a good way. I mean, like I'm growing as a person. I do enjoy this. So I'm really not complaining. I'm really just acknowledging how much is involved with making this work, and just my appreciation now for all of the companies I've worked at, all the businesses I drive past, all of the companies that are there, that were there yesterday, that are there today, and that will be there tomorrow. They have people, they have management in place, they have owners, they have a CEO or whatever in place, multiple people in place who have created those systems, who have created that process and those procedures that make that business successful. And that is impressive. Anyway, we're about 3 minutes away from John's. Let's go buy us an Xbox and let's make it a really good day, guys. Let's go. All right, so here's the haul. So we've got 1, 2 Stan Musial autographs. 1, 2. We have a letter of certificate of authenticity where that number matches up with that number. So this one is authenticated, this one is not. Although he told me that this one is for both of them. But who knows, right? And here's a picture supposedly of him signing at this autograph signing place. It's probably just a hotel. He's just signing stuff. And then just a random. It's the puzzle cards that used to come with this stuff. So there's 3 of those. Then here's the Xbox One Elite. It's in there with 1 controller. I don't want to take it out. Just trust me, it is in there. And then here's the games that came with it. There's just a bunch of COD games. There's 1 Grand Theft Auto and a Battlefield 3. So these are just basically all we're going to lot up. This one we might, it just depends, but we'll probably just lot all of these up with this. And that's that. And the Stan Musial book. So that's all today, guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening to me rant about running a business. And like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. We'll see you next time. Have a good day. Enjoy your weekend. See you guys.